He woke up because the forest had decided to scream again. That was how he thought of it, anyway. The moment when every insect, bird, and invisible thing with too many legs went silent all at once, then resumed as if nothing had happened. He lay still, counting breaths, hand already closing around the handle of his knife. After years here, his body reacted faster than his thoughts, which was useful because his thoughts were usually busy complaining. "Fine," he muttered to the air. "Be mysterious. I didn't like sleep anyway." He checked the small sensor pad salvaged from the crash, its cracked screen flickering with numbers that no longer meant much. Radiation normal. Atmosphere breathable. No incoming storms predicted by the half-dead algorithm he trusted like an old dog with missing teeth. The forest behaved, according to the machine, exactly as it always did, which was never true. He stood, stretched, and immediately regretted both decisions. Something had rearranged his traps again. He knew this because the line he'd tied across the path was neatly coiled, not snapped, not chewed through. Neatness implied intent. Intent implied intelligence. Intelligence implied he was not alone, which he rejected on principle. "Wind," he said aloud. "Very polite wind." He gathered his gear and moved through the trees, boots crunching softly on soil that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking at it. Every step felt watched, but that had been true since year one, and fear had grown bored of the sensation. He hunted, failed, joked to himself about starving artist careers on hostile planets, and somehow returned with food anyway. Luck, he decided, was his most reliable companion. What he did not notice was the brief shimmer high above, where something folded light like fabric and then stilled. Sensors adjusted. A figure crouched on an unseen branch, long ears angling slightly, picking up the rhythm of his heart, the muttered complaints, the statistical improbability of his continued survival. Data streamed silently. Notes were made and erased. Intervention remained unnecessary. For now. Later, when the sun dipped and the forest glowed faintly with bioluminescent veins like exposed circuitry, he nearly died again. A root shifted, not to trip him, but to brace his fall. He laughed nervously, thanking the ground, promising to stop insulting it. Somewhere above, a soundless exhale escaped, equal parts relief and annoyance. He cooked his meal over a careful flame and told the darkness about his day, about how he missed people who talked back, about how if anyone was spying on him, they could at least help carry water. The darkness listened. The long ears twitched at the unfamiliar concept of jokes used as armor. When he finally slept, the forest hummed in layered frequencies, some natural, some not. A protective field pulsed once, invisible, correcting a drift in local predators. A choice was postponed. Observation continued, and the man dreamed, as he always did, that he was alone, while just beyond his reach, someone made sure he stayed alive long enough to keep believing it. The trouble began with the sky blinking. He noticed it because skies were not supposed to blink, and because the half-dead sensor pad started chirping like it had suddenly remembered fear. He stared upward, squinting, and counted 3 slow flashes between the drifting clouds. "No," he said firmly. "We are not doing that today." The chirping stopped. The blinking did not. He waited for thunder, meteors, divine judgment, or at least something dramatic enough to justify the interruption of his morning routine. Nothing followed. The forest resumed its layered noise, offended at being questioned. He sighed and marked the incident down as another entry in his mental list titled Things I Will Pretend Are Normal. As he moved deeper between the trees, his compass spun lazily, then settled on a direction that was technically north but emotionally suspicious. He tapped it twice. "I know where north is," he told it. "We've discussed this." The compass refused to engage further. Elsewhere, unseen systems recalibrated. A signal threaded through the canopy, too narrow for human instruments, but loud enough to make long ears twitch sharply. The alien woman stiffened, annoyance flaring. The hunters were closer than projected. That was inconvenient. Inconvenience led to risk. Risk led to decisions. The man felt the forest shift again, not aggressively, more like it was shuffling its feet. A low hum passed through the ground, gentle but persistent. His boots vibrated. "Okay," he said. "Either I'm losing my mind, or the planet has opinions." He adjusted his pack and nearly collided with a hovering object that had not been there a second earlier. It shimmered, wobbled, then darted sideways like a startled fish. He yelped, stumbled back, and pointed his knife at empty air. Silence followed. Then his own laughter burst out, sharp and too loud. "Great," he said. "I'm threatening ghosts now." Above him, a cloaking field strained, then stabilized. A hand hovered over a control that would end the lie in a heartbeat. It did not press. Not yet. As night crept in, the blinking returned, closer now, reflected faintly on leaves. The sensor pad finally surrendered and displayed a warning symbol he had never seen before, helpfully unlabeled. He stared at it. "That's new," he said. "You don't get to be new." Something streaked across the sky, silent and fast. The forest reacted violently. Creatures scattered. Energy rippled through the soil. He ran without asking questions, because experience had taught him questions were a luxury item. A barrier flared into existence just ahead of him, invisible until he smacked into it and bounced onto his back, swearing creatively. The barrier vanished immediately after, as if embarrassed. He lay there, breathing hard, staring up at the stars. "I swear," he said to the universe. "If someone's watching this, at least rate the performance." From the shadows, the alien woman listened, long ears angled toward him and toward the approaching signals beyond the atmosphere. Humor detected. Resilience confirmed. Observation protocols were officially falling apart. That he woke to the sound of someone clearing their throat, which was unfair because he had lived alone long enough to believe throats were a personal accessory. His eyes snapped open, knife already in hand, and he rolled to his feet in one smooth motion he had practiced for years and never expected to use on an actual person. She stood a few steps away, hands visible, posture tense in a way that suggested she had rehearsed this moment several thousand times and still disliked it. In the dim light, she looked human enough to make his brain hesitate, until his gaze caught on her ears. Long, elegant, angled slightly backward, flicking with every sound the forest made. They stared at each other. "Well," he said finally, because silence had always made him nervous, "either I finally snapped or you're real." "I am real," she replied, then paused. "Statistically speaking." He laughed, a sharp bark of disbelief that turned into something quieter. "Figures," he said. "I talked to trees for years and missed the actual person." There was no time for explanations the way either of them would have preferred. The sky flared again, closer now, and the ground vibrated with a frequency that made his teeth ache. She moved instantly, fingers dancing through the air, light bending, space folding. A shield wrapped around them like a held breath. "They found me," she said, "which means they found you by proximity. I apologize." "Do they apologize before trying to kill people?" he asked. "No. Rude," he said. "I hate rude guests." The hunters arrived as distortions first, shapes that hurt to look at, their technology slicing through the forest with clinical indifference. She fought with precision, devices blooming into existence from nothing, fields snapping shut, physics bending like it owed her money. He fought the only way he knew how, running interference, setting traps, yelling unhelpful commentary. "Left," he shouted. "I am aware," she said, ears flattening as a blast skimmed past. "Your volume is unnecessary. It's motivational." Somehow, between her planning and his improvisation, they survived. She triggered a final sequence, a burst that folded the hunter's signal back on itself, erasing their trail, scattering them across empty coordinates. Silence followed, deep and real. He sat down hard, laughing until it hurt. "So," he said, "you've been watching me this whole time?" "Yes." "And fixing things?" "Yes." "And you didn't think to say hello?" I was instructed not to interfere. He looked at her, really looked this time. You interfered anyway. She hesitated, then nodded. Yes. The forest settled. The sky behaved. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of loneliness lift, replaced by something uncertain but alive. He realized he wasn't angry. He was relieved. I'm not very good at being alone anymore, he admitted. I am not very good at being with someone, she said. He smiled. We'll figure it out. Statistically speaking, they stood together as dawn crept in, not as observer and subject, not as accident and consequence, but as two survivors choosing, finally, not to face the universe alone.